And something we wanted to ask about was safe spaces for people and accessibility for minoritized communities in venues and creative opportunities. There's also a lot of stuff done with the bare minimum in terms of like accessibility and how can that be combated, like going past the bare minimum, making those safe spaces for people.
I think, Dionne, what you were saying is so true, and it really relates, I think, to what DAC's doing. It's a disabled-led organisation. All of our board, or the majority of our board, is disabled as well. And I think those safe spaces from a disability perspective are really important, because if you're a disabled young person in Wales and you want to pursue music, you're just going to be encountering so many more barriers along your journey. So I think those spaces for young disabled musicians to explore their practice and have that community are really crucial, and there needs to be more of them so that those people can have that community and grow and develop their practice and then go out and be part of that mainstream conversation and be booked. Because I think people are acting in a tokenistic way and coming to DAC and saying, please can we book a disabled musician? And it's like, well, the pathway isn't really there for those musicians, so there's like a very limited pool of people that I can direct you to. You want to pick someone up at the top of their game, but you're not giving the foundation.
That's right. Can I just add to that? That's absolutely a lot of anything you talk about. We were talking about exclusion and historical exclusion. We're always going to overlap, most definitely, with everything that we're talking about. But most definitely, it is that tokenistic thing. I get a lot of the young artists I deal with, I will advise them not to play on something rather than play on it, because what it does is disservice to basically their artwork, their art. And it doesn't matter whether you are disabled, lesbian, trans, black, or all of those things. If you're a good musician, you're a good musician, and you should be treated as a good musician. And you should also, all these venues need to make sure that that venue is safe before inviting you into there. So basically they'll say, yes, let's have a black musician on this, but maybe it's just a whole indie, say for instance, a whole indie festival. You put a black musician on there, they're doing very authentic music, and then everyone stops because it's not being made ready for them. The festival hasn't done enough background work to talk to their audiences about what to expect. Do you know what I mean? So they'll put on, say for instance, African dance. Well, Africa is not a country, it's a continent, so please be specific. And then let's talk about it before putting it on. And also, we also need to have spaces where we can fail without it being a big thing. We need to be able to build ourselves up, because when we do that, we own it. It's ownership. We're not asking you to give us it. We deserve to be on here. So that's what we want. We want bring back some, the equity in it. You want to talk about black music, and you want to talk about trans or just people in the community who are disabled, but you don't want to have an actual venue for them. You don't want to have an actual festival that actually, you just want to have these little showpieces. So the more people that are actually taking control, you can take control of your own identity, and that's what we want.
I can relate to that. Like, so I can say with musician that idea of you can't fail because you're represented by your music.
Exactly.
That's all you've got.
But if you're able-bodied, you can fail all the time and get to number one.
Yes. I think it's what I'd like to ask. Where there are these safe spaces for people to be themselves, how do you then, as an individual, whether you're a young artist, but anyone with a diverse background, how do you then safeguard your well-being when you're not in those spaces anymore? Because 90% of the time we do have that fight in us to fight back, right, and to make a change. But what do you do when you don't have that? How do you protect, yourself in those situations?
I mean, I would say every single person lives in an echo chamber, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. I said to you, I have a circle of friends who, when they are looking at, I'm going to organise this event, first thing they're doing is I can't use our venue, it's not accessible. And it's bin them. Stop giving them the work. Stop giving them the opportunity to fail the community. Because the community is every single one of us, not just some of us who can get there. And I'm kind of sick and tired of that attitude of being like, oh, well, I was like, if I have to take a punch and I can't have 200 people in a venue, let me have a sold-out 100 venue where I know that people can attend. And be safe. And I struggle with the term safe space. It's not a term I use lightly, because I think it's a debate that I have with my friends a lot, that no place can truly be safe 100%, because you can plan and plan to the nth degree, and there will always be one person that shows up and can harm someone, and it can be intentional or unintentional, because a lot of the time our prejudices and the way that we treat people is not from a place of malice, it's from a place of miseducation. And when we use the term safe space, what I prefer is intentional. It's an intentional space. What I try to do with Resonant is create an intentional space where I'm inclusive of the people that have been historically left out of the conversation, left out of tech-based roles. And that's what I based the platform on, was there's not enough people who look like me or are in my social circle or identify as other than in a checkbox list that are behind the sound desk.
It's true.
You know, and it's like I wanted to change that because I got behind a sound desk and I was like, if I have one more guy tap me on the shoulder and tell me to turn the gain down, I'm going to bite someone.
Very true.
Because it's not the frickin' game, like, it's not. You know, and it's something that I think it's an ongoing conversation that every single person needs to be having, and I think it's also something reflected in what you said, Rosey, about championing people when they're on the way up, not just once they're already there, and being like, oh, this person's amazing, and oh, look, what a battle they must have had, but because of all these things that they've had to go through. And it's like every single person has a set of challenges they have to go through. Some people have more, some people have less. Depends on where you start out in life. Do you know what I mean? And those barriers, they are tough, but you have to find those people who have that little bit more of a challenge than others and champion them so that they have that equity, going back to what you said. Because it isn't, you know, you can think of that soapbox, you know, visual of, you know, everybody gets the same box, but everybody's different heights, and then nobody can see the race, you know? So it's like, provide boxes and platforms that lift everybody up to the degree that they deserve and they need.
Absolutely.
I really like what you've been saying, and the way that once we get, you know, whether it's an event for queer people, a small event or a big event that boosts our visibility, it's important to give that back, not just to your own community. That's and the way that all three of you are like intertwining, whether it's the black community, the disabled community, whatever it is, like everyone is intertwined and boosting each other up, and that's exactly how it needs to be. One of our other points was on Welsh language and how that's used and how it's maybe neglected in parts. Do any of you have anything you'd like to say about that?
Topical.
Right, for me, this is a two-pronged thing. I'm actually a Welsh learner, and I will be bringing out a bilingual soul funk album later on this year. I started my journey with the Eisteddfod. They supported me, but they supported me because the only way I'd do it is because I needed to be authentic. So I've got reggae rhythms in there, I've got a lot of just, it's black as me, if you see what I mean. But when it comes to music, it's also got the musicianship, so I've got great musicians on there, live players as well. But can I just go back, before, you know, we're talking about the Welsh language, I want to step back a bit about these safe spaces to do it. For me, I was in a safe space because I did it online when I first started through the pandemic, safe space. Doing it out front within people, I realised I'm the only black person there who was actually learning. So that was like, okay, but I also knew it was to my, it was all, learning Welsh also gave me more opportunity here because being a black English, a singer, even though I'm Welsh, but singing in English, kind of really kind of squeezed down the opportunities, where I was seeing other Welsh artists, and I don't think they were that good either. They were actually just working, like, you know, and a lot of these Welsh artists work all the way through in Eisteddfod, so they're doing like 8 gigs sometimes, while we're still, you know, scrambling for the one person on there that would represent us. So I needed to do that because I wanted to tell people exactly what I thought in English and Welsh. That was number one, but also for me it was a great. You've always got to, like you said, always learning. Who said that? Somebody said that earlier on today. You always learn. You always can figure out something to do with your art form that will bring something new to it. But the the Welsh language has been used historically as well to exclude, because there is no reason why the Welsh language we cannot promote our music on an equal level. So you'll see Welsh language artists promoted far better than you'll see an English Welsh star. But then they'll hail and love, say for instance, the Super Furries, Griff Rhys. All their major albums and all their major sales are in English, okay? Even though they're Welsh language stars, they made most of their money, and the way that they're famous is from English language. What I'm saying is, yes, it's important, but the language is changed. We've got, I've got kids from Cardiff, I live in Cardiff, from the streets, working class. They use Welsh, but they decide not to because they find it inhibits them. I can only do a rap if I do it in Welsh. Well, what I've got to say doesn't translate. There's some words that do not translate into Welsh. So I think what we're doing is actually really diminishing the major quality of artists that we've got here. It's the same way that they do it with disability, or the same way they will do it with sexuality. Just the fact that you don't speak Welsh, even though you're just as Welsh as anybody else, will actually stop you from earning. So I learnt Welsh to be kind of like, I am a business. It'll make me learn more, but also to open those doors. If no one sees a black person doing it and actually saying, well, I'm going to do it my way, and not sit there and sing Bach and all that, you know what I mean, or whatever it is. You know what I mean? If you want to do it, you have to do it authentically, and that's why we have less engagement, because we've been given this tokenistic crap and being said, let's fit into this box. We don't all fit into a box, we never will, and that's the beauty of art, people who are artists. But yeah, I do believe that the Welsh language is important. The Eisteddfod's not going anywhere, but we need to start using Welsh in a more modern way, in a bilingual way.
Yeah, I think we can all, as of recent events, think of a circumstance that has left many people, such as myself as a Welsh learner also, disillusioned and quite disenfranchised. I come from a place in the valleys where the language was beaten out of my people. Like, we got given dunce caps and things to put around our necks, and I've got family that thought that if they spoke Welsh, they were stupid. The preservation of the language where I'm from is not something that is cared about, and it's not cared after. And teaching around it, like good grammar and writing a sentence about if I'm going to go to the shop that day doesn't serve me in my adult life.
Exactly.
What does serve me is creative use of language. And as someone also learning Welsh so that I can perhaps use it in my music. As a lesbian, I don't see any other Welsh language artist representing my faction of humanity. And that's hard, thinking, I love these Welsh language artists. I think and listen fondly, but some of it is a bit bland because it's a very specific kind of person that speaks Welsh. And there isn't a lot of intersectionality above it being you're a Welsh speaker who speaks Welsh from North Wales. And you speak Welsh, and that's all of it. And it's like, great, I love that my language is there, I love listening to it, I love hearing conversations, I love being part of friendship groups with Welsh language speakers in it, but it's also this level of, it's inaccessible.
It is.
And it's a commodity that people get more opportunities via. S4C have never contacted me to say, do you want to do something for a live session? I'm just as Welsh as any Welsh language artist.
That's the point.
And I would love to get that kind of opportunity, but, maybe something I would love to see at the Eisteddfod is just an inch, just an inch, where if there is going to be a preference of everything in Welsh all the time, okay, well, can we not have a tent where we do bilingual?
Thank you.
Can we not have a space where there's something in creation that allows those who aren't first language, who have also come to this country and took it upon themselves to learn a language, and they're triple lingual, do you know what I mean? They're not just speaking one language, they're speaking 3 or 4.
I was on stage at Tavoil. So Tavoil, for me, just didn't advertise itself good enough. Because it is bilingual. I just thought it was going to be another Welsh language thing, and I was like, okay, I'm up there. I'm going up there as a black artist who can sing, and God damn, I'm good. I was up there and I learned this language, and I kicked ass on stage. What I mean is, I didn't feel that same way when I went to the Eisteddfod. The Eisteddfod seems very much like kind of like stuck in the past to me, which is great. There's a need for that traditionalism. but also those people that are kind of into that traditionalism are going to die out, and it's you lot that are going to keep it going, okay? So it needs to have that. Every Welsh artist I saw at the Eisteddfod did not look like me at all. Spoke very, very well. No one had a bit of slang. No one had a weird, no one had pink hair or anything like that. It was very much, I felt like I was back in school, and maybe I was going to be the dunce kid, even though, it made me feel scared to use my Welsh in case I said it wrong. Whereas at Tavoil, I was like, I was calling everyone my brother, my sister, I was dipping in and out of Welsh, just like my mates do. Yeah. And like I would dip in and out of patois. And it was normal. What I mean is, I was on the stage, he came on after me, Sage Toms, which you might have heard about the whole thing with the Eisteddfod. And it was so beautiful, because it was just normal. And that's how it should be. Yeah. He came after me, my band, we did EDM, so we came on, we were hyped up the crowd, and then he was on. But it was normal. Yeah. No one was like, oh. It was just a wicked, very varied Eisteddfod, where I saw people that did look like me. Now this is what needs to happen, because usually when you see somebody who's speaking Welsh on TV, they're just boring. They seem boring to me. They just seem like cardboard cutouts to me. And they do not look as colourful and as wide-ranging as what we have in here. And this is Wales. So yeah, it really bugs me that the Welsh language is steeped in this old way of cool Cymru. That's gone. 90s.
One of our bullet points specifically was like, how Welsh do you have to be? And then it's about, we're all Welsh.
Yeah.
It's not the language that makes you, and especially people who come from more diverse backgrounds or whatever. I got told last year by my English friends, it was me and my friend, and they said, oh yeah, she sounds Welsh. I hear the gay before I hear the Welsh in your accent. And I was like, oh. And I remember I was like, well, I'm just as Welsh. Like, we're both from the same place, but that's what I was told. And it's good to know that, I think as long as we all know that we're just as Welsh, it's going to go places with that.
But your sexuality doesn't define you.
Exactly.
Same as your Welshness.
And it bothered me. I was like, why is that such a big thing? And we were just talking about regional accents, and then they brought it in. And it should be a big thing, but they go alongside each other. It doesn't have to be.
It's because that's the way that society's been conditioned. When I walk into a university, I've been asked either, what course am I out on, or am I a cleaner? I'm your lecturer. Right? I'm on the big money. I'm lecturing you. But that's what I mean. Walking into places, that's what I'm talking about, making safe spaces. I know what you mean with the intentional. What I mean is, if I don't even see a picture on the wall that's even reflecting me, that just makes me feel. When I first went into to teach in the Royal Welsh College, because I deliver a black music program there for their jazz program, I was like, you've got to decolonise this wall, man, because it's like, this is a jazz is black music. Yeah. Whether you like it or not, that's where it stems from. But yet, everything around me says it's not for me. And it stems from my community, the larger black community. Your building, what you have on the wall, what you've had beforehand. You can't have somebody is an anti-trans or anti-gay or anything like that one day, and then all of a sudden you want to be like, just because Pride's come around. Yeah. Pride again, 25 quid for a drag. That's an organisation that should be fighting. When I heard that they were paying drag artists £25, I was absolutely distraught. It's unreal.
I think
these are big organisations, and what I'm talking about is grassroots organisations. You lot need to get. You're all activists, because the fact that you're standing in, you're going to be talking about your own lives now. Use that, because we need to get the old ground out. Yeah. It needs to be a change of guard now, okay? Because let's say, when I'm an old pensioner, I'm going to be full of more tattoos, more piercing. Yeah. We're not going to be looking like our grandmas now, and I don't want to be hearing, Tom Jones when I'm in an old home. I want to be hearing what your music is probably. But you've got a chance now, especially with this project. Say it, and it's not being rude, it's not being raw. I knew more about myself from hip-hop when I was growing up than what my school told me, because it told me about the reality, whereas the school was telling me everything's fine, we're all friends here, do you know what I mean? Yeah. When we know on the streets it's different. We know, and for me, working to forward black people, I'm the only organisation that is run by a black woman, and I'm the only organisation in Chapter, under the umbrella of Chapter, who's black and will be also there. You know, everything I do shouldn't be a bloody first, and it's really upsetting me.
Yeah.
Okay, but you can now just go on with that torch. There's nothing off limits. Okay, there's nothing you can't say in music, and that's the thing. Don't ever shy away. There's a conversation over the N-word when we go into rap. It's a conversation for black people to have, I believe, but also there's a place, because if I was maybe living in America and whatever, maybe I would say that. Maybe I wouldn't say that. But there's reasons when people reclaim a word and try and then dilute that word. And we all of us here have a chance to reclaim that ground by just doing the one thing, being actively and mindfully anti-racist, be actively open and inclusive, but also to say it and say it out loud. Be proud of whoever you are, because let me tell you, authentic artists are not out there. We're dying for them, and we're dying for people that look like us. So yeah, what you're doing here today is brilliant.
I want to clap that.
Oh, that's you.
I have a question anyway, leading on from it all. So like, when you are fighting for this and being like empowered in your diversity, how do you then combat the resilience from people within your own community as well? Because I know myself, like a lot of ideas, I'm like, yes, disabled artists, that you know, it's my tagline kind of thing. Yeah. But there's a lot of people who are like, oh, you shouldn't be known for that. You shouldn't be doing it.
I get this a lot, actually. It's something that I've been battling with for a really long time, and I stopped listening, and I just kicked that person out of my life. At the end of the day, if you feel comfortable reclaiming things and labelling yourself in a way, label is only meant to serve you, right? Some people don't want a label, so don't label them. Some people, it's necessary. They've worked hard and they've had to decolonise, they've had to work on their mindset, they've had to like remove this able-bodied brain and say, let me talk to myself and figure out who I am and what is important to me. I call myself a dyke. I don't want any of you calling me that, no offence, like, do you know what I mean? But, you know, I very happily use that term for myself. I've reclaimed that. I feel comfortable, I feel confident in it. And I remember the first time my dad called me a lesbian, and that was the turning point. That was my bisexual layover into lesbianism, where I was like, a member of my family called me a big fat lesbian, and I was like, there it is, that's it. You got it. You've got it in one. And you know what? Like, yeah, I claim these terms. I claim the label queer, and I know that for some of the elder queer community, the older LGBTQ plus community, they do not like that word. And I've had those debates with them because they were used as slurs against people. You know, whether you claim that term is up to you. That's not comfortable for someone, so don't use it when you refer to them. You know, it's as simple as that. But I've had somebody very recently exit my life because I simply would not take it anymore.
Right.
Because microaggressions, they seem small at the time, but they build up and they build up and they build up.
That's right.
And at some point, you do have to be the challenger and say, I will continue to be the bad guy. You're always going to be the villain in someone's story, but at least be the villain for standing up for what you believe is right, rather than some bullshit that doesn't matter.
That's absolutely right.
Because it is, like, it's tough. Like, you can't do it.
You know, the labels that they give, you know, all of us. You know, especially me, I had claimed that label black. I'll say black, 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 black all day to people, because how dare you try and call me an acronym? I am not a BAME, I don't know what that is. I'm not a BIPOC, I'm not this, I'm not any of that. What I am is a black woman, and what they need to do is target us. As if they want to talk to us, you can't talk to people with this whole thing of like, you know, okay, we're going to talk to people from diverse backgrounds and use the word BAME. There is no actual data in that, because you're not specifically saying where these fundings are going, where the help is needed, where the lack of support is. I've claimed that. So, you know, when I first started like saying the word black, people go, I had a black person say, you shouldn't say that, you should say coloured. I nearly fell off my chair. No, but they were older than me, and they didn't grow up. I suppose they did grow up in a very mixed race. But I was absolutely astonished that still is considered the nice way to talk about someone who's my skin. No, I love being this dark. I'm out in the sun all the time. I like being black, but I like the word has got these connotations, and I'm reclaiming that word and bringing back the beauty and art of what black is. So reclaim anything, there's not off limits. Nothing is. They tell you that to keep you in your little box, and you are bigger than that. Take it, challenge it, and if you don't want that label, then use that in your art and kick it out.
Yeah. It's like you said about, you know, when you heard from someone else calling you a gay Welsh person.
Yes.
Say, okay, I get to do that. You don't get to put me in a box.
Yeah.
And I think challenging that uncomfortableness is such an important thing.
If it made you uncomfortable, it's worth challenging.
Yeah, and even like obviously we are uncomfortable in these situations, but even when they are uncomfortable with us reclaiming a word, even.
Yes,
it's
exactly.
Like, well, that's not for you to be uncomfortable.
No,
like,
and it's not the business.
Yeah, I've been around people who are saying, why do black people say the N-word in songs?
Exactly.
It's like, well,
my first answer to that is, it's none of your business.
It's none of your business.
Right?
Exactly.
Between me and my community, that's number one. And two, you do not understand that you've used this word in such a way that used to be so powerful.
Yeah.
It's a word. I know more kids, white kids who are saying the N-word, right? Do you know what I mean? What I mean is, black culture is so prevalent, it's so through society, yet they don't like black bodies, and that's what I'm talking about. So what I'm doing, and a lot of people that I know are doing, especially we had to see that horrific death of a man, you know, before they even took any notice about how much we are denied and how much we have created. That's why I'm always saying we're black. Not because it's just ours. We've given art to the world. So what you need to do is centre us now and give it back. For instance, you know, in the gay community, I'm not going to say something really weird, but, you know, I do. I've got lots of gay friends who love me. Because when I'm on stage, I'm like big and... What I mean is, when I go out clubbing with my friends, there is that black community, the way they move, the talking, whatever, you've got to, and there is sexism and there is racism within the gay community, especially, but this is your chance to speak about it, because the old guard is changing, they're dying off. And things are changing, you know, the fact that we're having a conversation like this, I wouldn't say, you know, think about this, 20 years ago, I don't think anything like this would ever have happened. I'm still not seeing another university lecturer that looks like me, okay? But I'm hoping that me opening the door, being loud and open and proud about it, will open the door for them, and also I can be a professor one day and just go out and do my jazz gigs when I, you know, and eat cake with all the time, so I don't have to worry about it. But what I'm saying is, yes, the uncomfortable thing is the key. Because we've all been stepping away from that and nothing changes. So what I did was boot down doors. Why am I not here? Why are you giving this space? Why are you doing this? We have to challenge it. And that's the only way you do, is challenge it at every stage. And be mindful about it. Make sure you're safe when you're doing it. But don't forget that that's an opportunity, one, to educate people, and one, to solidify who you are.
Mistakes are always going to be made.
And
as long as there is reparation, as long as there is genuine apology and a change in direction, I forgive.
Yes.
I think people sometimes, they make a mistake, they get cancelled now, and then people, I think that is, it's good to hold people accountable. I think it's also, if there's genuine change, I know that's hard to measure maybe with online personalities, but I'm talking more central to your own lives. There are people in your own lives that make a mistake and you have to hold them accountable. Do it. Growth is never going to be comfortable. Think about all of your lives, every single one of you, right? None of you are NPCs, you're all going on, we're all living your own lives, right? I don't see through your eyes, right? We get in a space and we all interact, and it's really weird. I think about this like random stream of consciousness stuff all the time, and it wakes me out because I'm like, you're going home and like living your own life? Wild. Right? Separate to mine, I'm doing my own thing, and you have no idea what I had for lunch, but we should all hold each other accountable, and I would hope that the people in my social circle would be the kind of friends that would tell me if I need to adapt, if I need to grow, if I need to change a way of doing something. And I think that if we all do that to the people in our lives, whether that be the men in your life, if they're being misogynistic, call them out on it. Because the boys are not going to, right? If it's somebody being racist and you see it, but you're not a black person, you say it, right?
You've got to be mindful.
And there's a massive difference. Massive difference between speaking up about something and speaking for someone. It's a very very gentle line between the two of them. You know, I have on my project, I have amazing trans and non-binary individuals that I know I will never fully understand their life experience and what they go through. I have a wonderful non-binary partner, I have beautiful trans friends, I have a social circle that I would die for. And I know that they have taught me and continue to teach me things every single day. And I have to learn. I just have to learn. Because me being cis means that I'm the default. So I get privilege that they do not have. Right? And it's like I learn in that and I sit there and I take it on board. Never be afraid to listen to someone who is genuinely giving you room to grow. And also in terms of creation and art and making something, all great art challenges the perceived norm. And I say perceived specifically because we are fed lines of what normal is, and it's not necessarily the truth.
It's not relevant. It's just a baseline that you to either measure something or whatever, but we all know that we're individuals and we all are different from inside. But what you can do, because the fact that you're sat here, you can challenge it in your own little way. Yeah. Your own world, you can actually rock it and move mountains. But the fact that you can express it, being either disabled, being a black woman, being Muslim, being out there, you are ready. You're somebody that I want to see more of, you know, in my day-to-day life. But I understand why I don't. But the fact of the matter is, I'm also chair of an organisation called Ladies of Rage. So basically, what we've just got now is, I've just done my first bit and got 50 grand off the Arts Council to make sure women like me, you, every one of us, okay, that identifies, can actually have absolutely some, real gains in Wales, in Cardiff, which will actually just propel and change the whole ethos and the whole way that the whole sector has run. You know, there's not enough, I don't see enough disabled artists. What I hear about is trauma all the time. Or I don't see enough black artists. I hear about black artists who've gone through trauma all the time and they want to say that. What I want to see is true art, where you're not constrained by what one looks like. And that's, you know, there's artists out there. You know, cross-dressing is nothing new. Yeah. Nothing new, but all of a sudden it's furore, it's all faux outrage. That's all it is, because let me tell you, most of the people on there are reading the Daily Mail, no one that you want to meet with anyway, no one you'd want to deal with anyway. What I'm saying is you can affect the change that happens here, and that's really, really important. And you just here being yourself, talking about these things, but you need to do that when you're in your everyday life. Same thing, challenge it, and use it in your work.
Seamlessly replace.
Thank you,
Ree. She's got to come up and do something.
Bye, Ree. Thank you so much. Well done, Ree.
Look at her. She's absolutely stunning.
Amazing.
What you were saying as just then about like other people's lives as well, I think in general, if you grow as a person, even away from like the diversity conversation, if you just like have a personal achievement, it comes from being uncomfortable and it comes from pushing yourself.
Yes.
So taking that back to the diversity part is like,
same thing.
There is that slight uncomfortableness if you're not, you know, but it doesn't have to be a negative thing. If I'm in a situation of something that I don't relate to, like a black music event, and if like that I may not be the centre, but that's not, you know, it's not a personal
Yeah, but it's
attack.
not something that would actually exclude you.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
because you'd actually like the music that was there.
And no one's going to stop you from walking in that door.
No.
Exactly. And
Whereas
that's
the other way round.
misconception.
But the point is, we've been conditioned, and that the industry's been lazy with actually making sure that places are open to us all. Okay, they've all got their own agendas as well, and that's another reason why I'm, you know, employed to go into these places and go, what are you doing? Why is there no gay people there? Why is there no you? Well, why does everyone look like you?
Yeah.
How can you serve anyone? Because you're middle aged, you're a civil servant, but you're giving out money for artists. It don't work, does it? You need to have a better view of what's going on. You need those people who can dot the I's and make sure that you don't overspend, because I would. But you know, but you also need the ones that are actually knowing that this actually is a worthwhile project, and not just like, you know, just something, what we want now, and this is what, if you go for funding, most definitely now, when you're looking at it, you know, this working class, the people that are excluded, what they want is legacy. What you can give is legacy. You're starting something that will go on. People look back and go, well, he stood up, said that, and then went and done that as Taya. And I'm like, yeah, do you know what I mean? It doesn't matter. You are just a great example of, like, you know, the way that you're speaking about it and being so, like, natural within your body. You know? Me, again, I used to be so self-conscious when I was going into a white boardroom, even though, you know, I'm a loud, animated person because this is what I am on stage. I just thought, oh, maybe I've got to tone it down. Yeah. And I thought, my mum was like, no, if you want to wear your hair in plaits, wear your hair in plaits. Why straighten your hair? I have my hair out in my afro, usually. Why not? My afro looks just as professional, you know, and just as lovely. This is my natural hair. Why can't I do that? But you're conditioned into thinking like you have to be this one mould. No, the world is changing. I know they like to tell you it isn't. But let me tell you, from a black woman, it is. It really, really is. Because the momentum I have now, I know that my sisters, when they started their business, they didn't have that. They didn't have the amount of support. They also didn't have these kind of programs where you are going to meet different people. And this is very, very needed in Wales, because in some parts of Wales, you're never going to see a black person, you're never going to see someone like me, unless I'm coming up there to do something. I love North Wales, but, you know, there's lots of my friends who live in Aber and North Wales, they're crying out for a black music night. People forget that it's not just the colour of the skin, it's also what that colour of the skin is given to art. And that is, it's for everyone. So how many genres of music have come from black music? Let's give those artists the respect. And when you do start giving people the respect, you get more people wanting to be involved, because they can see that they're actually being valued. And that's what's been happening with a lot of us. We've been undervalued to a point where we're scared to even go for maybe funding, or we're scared to even ask those questions. Never be scared. If you haven't got a black friend, I am that friend now. If you want to ask me a question, send it to Reese, get online. If you don't ask those questions, you're always going to have those preconceptions. And that's what I mean. If you feel uncomfortable, there's ways of saying it. You know, you can say it like, I can say it, or I'm going to say it. There's ways to always be mindful and always understand you don't need to be at this table. Just because they're offering you something, move along, there's another table. Okay? Do not devalue yourself. And that's what they've done to a lot of us, is make us think, right, here's a little bit of crumbs. When someone else is having a whole cake, I'll have that cake, thank you.
With, like, the tokenization that we're seeing. And I like that the conversation is like linking back, because it is all such, it's all
intersectionality.
Intersectionality. I'm curious to see.
I know. Girls rubbing off on me.
From a disability point of view, was there anything you wanted to add with that?
Could you remind me what the question was?
I mean, there were so many questions in a row, because
like,
it is so intertwined. I mean, in terms of like how it links in with art and getting your place at the table, like, do you have anything to add on all that?
Well, it was interesting what you were saying, Dionne, about it, that you feel like things are changing. It was like quite a landmark event recently that a big funding body based in London, I think, decided to divest all of their money.
I'm going for it.
Are you going to go for it? Oh, amazing.
I saw it in The Guardian.
Yeah, you can explain it better than I can.
Well, basically, I just skimmed through it, but yes, they just realised that actually this thing of philanthropy is quite colonialist. And they didn't really want to be part of that. They didn't think that was the best way to use that money, and to use, well, basically to use, sitting on this whole load of money. So basically said, right, I'm giving it out to worthy causes. So I will send the link actually to you, Leanne. But I just thought that's just massive, and it should have been a lot more of a fanfare, I thought. Because it's an actual change of consciousness.
They've actually divested their power and given
and given back that power to the people. And that's what art does. It gives you the power to say, that's bullshit. I'm going to not do that. I don't have to. You know, when I walked, you know, I grew up in, even though I was born in Wales, my parents moved to London, so I grew up in southeast London. I used to walk past, like, National Front. You know, it was painting on the walls. It was like, you know, pure, like, it was like a black area and it was a white area. Now we have this gentrification. Now you wouldn't be able to buy a house where I grew up. But before, that was seen as, like, you know, not the nice part. It's like what they've done really with the Bay, you see. I know it as the docks, everyone else knows it as the docks. And then you have the Bay. They seem to be gated though, don't they? some reason. They're not quite part of the community, but they are. What I mean is there is change, but I think the media is focused on the negative. So they always push out the negatives of what's going on, and they don't shout about what the great work that all of us are doing, all of these bodies are doing. They just are focusing on the anything that's giving you clicks. Anything that's going to feed your clicking. Yeah, that's what it is. True. But truly, when you look outside, there is change because, the old guard's dying off. Yeah. And, baby, they're going, and what's going to replace it? You lot. So, you've got such an important part to play. I know they keep trying to sell, you haven't got any power, but you do. Yeah. You really do. And music and art is one way that you're just going to cross those boundaries in even much more effective way. But also for you to actually just celebrate the beautifulness of your communities.
Yeah. Before we open the floor for questions, we were just talking about like young people, but really quickly to flip it, it was our last bullet point was about over 25. I remember watching the X Factor years ago, and it was called like everyone knew it as the oldies. Yeah. It was like 25-year-olds. Like, how would they
be over
the
25?
Oldies? Yeah, yes. It was like crazy. So we're seeing it. I mean, that was the music industry, the X Factor, but it's still around. We're like 25 plus. It's almost like a cut-off age. But it's like how is that like? Okay, you can't be creative anymore. It's like no. So how do we combat that?
That's complete balls. And the reason why, we've got the internet now, so you don't have to go into you're not going down and going into, I don't know, what's the shop, HMV and buying you just click on, don't you? Clicks, that's changed everything. So I earn money, you would never know it was my voice, okay, off adverts, because they manipulate, like I said, I work with a sync company in America. What I mean is there's so many ways for you to make money in the music industry that no, you don't have to be like the fresh 16-year-old in the tight-up skirt and showing everything. That's gross anyway. Yeah. But what I mean is if you want to do that, that's fine. But, there's a little bit of weirdness that went with the whole of the kind of the industry that went with it.
Fetishising the youth.
Yes, fetishising youth. But what I'm saying, there are people that have been... I go to festivals now. Say, for instance, there's a festival called... It's a jazz festival. Something Love. I can't remember what it is. Yeah, Love Supreme. There's artists from, I don't know, 16 all the way up to 60 there. And the 60-year-olds are kicking ass, they're really, really good. If you're good at what you do, it doesn't matter. You're always, for instance, Madonna has changed herself, but then she gets to a point where you have this thing with social media, but it's the media outside of music that say, oh, you're too old. No, there's women out there still doing it. Tina Turner's still looking fat. She was still looking fit in her 70s. Yeah. You know what I mean? What I mean is, no, with the advent of how we actually consume music, no, there is no cut-off point. Because basically, you can manipulate yourself to look any age now, can't you, online?
Very true.
But also you can have pseudonyms, which I do as well. So there's lots of ways that you can make money in the industry. You don't have to be the one that's just like, I'm an X Factor and all that, because what that does really is just chew you up and throw you out. Yeah. And you've got one or two that actually do, excel.
So always never the ones who win?
No, they never win, and then they hardly look like in us.
Yeah. I think
if you see what I mean.
The conversation we were having in Youth Forum was just about that there's a lot of programmes that go up to 25.
That's it.
This is one of them.
And this is one of them.
That are about develop your music between the ages of 16 and 25.
But it needs to have something else after that.
Well, last year with our resident funding, we got funded by Youth Music, which does stipulate 18 to 25. Mm-hmm. And it was a big conversation of how can I do what I want to do and achieve what I know needs to be achieved, but make it accessible to all. And what I did was, instead of keeping everything on Resonant private for the 10 people that get on, I don't know if you know the system, basically 10 people get on the programme, they're all non-binary, trans, or women, and they're all amazing, right? They're all talented individuals who just haven't been given the chance. So our idea is give them that chance. Now last year when we did it, I was frustrated because we had that stipulation. I was literally 25 myself, so I was like, I shouldn't even be running this then. Because I'm technically at the cut-off where my career is, I should be retiring technically,
or have it all sorted.
Yeah, or my life's not done. Jeez, like my career is just starting. Yeah. the things that my band has just got a manager, like we're just getting things kicked off, my career, just getting the opportunities that I had hoped for myself. And yeah, what I did was I decided to host our workshops and not keep them for the resident 10, but have them open to all. Brilliant. Because that made sure that I had some way of connecting with people and saying there's no age limit on this opportunity. You can come and you can learn and you can be part of this and you can network and be in this group, build this community, but you don't have to be 18 to 25 to do that. Mm-hmm. What happened then was I was so successful and I had a few conversations with people, and I feel as though with the people that are on Resonant, right, there's an intersection here with neurodiversity, with disability and queerness, and a lot of the time, even with trans individuals, I didn't come to my sexuality easily. I didn't have a very easy ride to get to where I am, and there was a lot that I had to unpack internally, which stopped me. And can you imagine that's me being a lesbian, which is semi-okay because I'm femme, and if you're not femme, like me, like my partner who's a butch, that is a problem, you know, and they're non-binary. So figuring out your identity takes far longer, especially if you have any other challenges. Yeah. So think of a neurodivergent, now that I'm describing someone who's on my project this year, a neurodivergent individual who is a trans woman, who's based in the valleys, who wants to do voiceover and wants to make music and do rap. Can you imagine what her journey is and how long it would take to get to a point to be out? That's not going to be done by 25, so I would be aging out the people that deserve to be on my project, right? Because it's not as easy as being like, oh, I'm 20 and I figured everything out and I know exactly who I am. I don't think I could say that and I'm 26.
No. And I think that's also a disservice to women who get pregnant early.
Exactly.
Mothers,
and have families.
Have children. The industry set up for males. Yeah. It's a nighttime economy. So who's the primary caregivers?
Who's going to be out of the house? Yeah. Who's going to be out of the house? So
I think that's absolutely wrong that they do that. I was very young when I had my child. Very young, and if I didn't have the support of my parents, my family, I know that probably wouldn't be here. Probably would be still, in Deptford, probably married to some, I don't know, street boy. Do you know what I mean? Road man, I don't know, whatever. What I'm saying is, the fact of the matter is, women get phased out. So you go away, you take your kids. I know so many women have come back when their kids are now in full-time school, want to go and do something for themselves. By the time they're ready to do that, they're way past 25 now. Okay, because they've got more time and they've actually reclaimed their own womanhood, and they've all probably gone through hell because it's not easy having children. So I think that needs to be looked at most definitely when it comes to funding, because it's just phasing out women who do have that.
There's
that
no
extra
maternity
thing.
leave in the industry. There's no maternity leave if you're a freelancer.
And if you're a single parent,
there's no chance of you as a woman, let alone transness or queerness, being a part of that identity. There's no chance of you coming through that experience of giving up yourself as a human being. I've seen it happen with all my family. I have a lovely sister who she had a baby young, and I saw her struggle for work because she had to do every job she could possible to provide for her family.
But do it in those times.
Yeah, and she had to leave creativity at the door because creativity is a risk, and it's not a risk that every single person has the privilege to take.
But also, alongside it, you've got the universities who are saying, come on, you want to come back to learning. Yeah. So there needs to be these other programmes and other funding routes that go alongside that, because not everyone can work and do well in a university setting. Some of them, it would just be totally wrong for some people, but they do want to learn. There's ways of doing it. Funding needs to be stretched, and funding needs to be really stretched for women as well. I just think it's absolutely cruel they do that, because, on one hand everyone's saying, oh, you're fertile, go on, have babies. You have babies, damn, then your man leaves. Or, whoever your partner is, you're left, but you still got the same wants and the same, ambition. Yeah. So I don't think 25 is quite fair.
Yeah. I think celebrating those women is definitely important because, you know, you talked about the media earlier.
Yeah.
In the media, if it's an older woman who's had children, it's always like made a story. It's like,
that's
coming
right.
back after having kids, and if it's an older man, he's just celebrate for something else.
Yeah.
So it's about celebrating women for them. But,
yes. And also, it's a bloody achievement to have babies.
And like you said, like getting,
but it is sensationalised in a different way.
But getting like to those people at the top, like you said, to break that down is what
it has to start up
definitely.
there. And because, you know, a lot of these people, like we said, cis male, they're not going to get pregnant. They've got their wife, they've got, you know, they've got.
You guys don't have to worry about
they don't have to worry about that. So it doesn't cross their minds, and that's why it's up to you when you look at a policy or someone does something to go, oi, you've got to bring up, because they don't know. They don't have to think about you. They've never had to think about anyone except themselves. So that's why we've got to keep on reminding them that, hold on, this is not right. You need to move with the times. You're not listening. For me also, you know, I'm like the chair of a wonderful organisation, LOR, with at least 3,000 plus members. But I'm not confident enough to talk about non-binary issues. Even though I've got a non-binary person on my board, because I don't know enough. And I wouldn't dare think I would know. What I mean is, I want the opportunity to talk to people who are not like me. Because I want to know these things. I also want to know, oh my gosh, you're making me see the world differently. That's a beautiful thing. That's an amazing thing, especially for an artist. But we have to be, I don't think it's very fair, especially when you're 25 and you come from a working class background. Your parents might not say, you've got to get a job, mate. You know, we need a loaf of bread. We don't need another song, son. All right? So, you know what I mean? There needs to be, I know people who are carers. They can't give that time. So cutting off at 25, I think that needs to have a little bit more thought, a lot more thought.
That's very true. And just to say as well, like Resonant now, we went for different funding, and we actually don't have an age limit. So this year, our second year, we implemented a different structure for ourselves and went after a different opportunity.
Love that. That's such a great note.
And also, I just want to say, when you're learning, when it's different ages, that's amazing. Learning cross-generationally, I've learned so much from people that are way older than me, you know. Girl, I've had one woman go, girl, if you got it, go out there and do it. You know what I mean? Because I didn't. And it just made me, you know, it made me stop in my tracks. We've got chances now, take them. But definitely.
But no, thank you for all those points.
Do you have anything you wanted to add?
It's interesting because in disability settings, we try and set the youth age limit is usually at 30 to sort of recognise those barriers that people are facing as they're coming up. And it'd be cool to see that happening more. I know that people have been considering like the impact that the pandemic's had on everyone and everyone's progress and development. And I'm seeing like 27 and sometimes 30 as like age limits. But I agree, like
it's true.
30 is also quite a low cut. You don't know
a lot
what
of people I know now have just got their diagnosis of ADHD and stuff like that, and they're in their 30s.
And women get diagnosed later.
Thank you. So there's all these other things that we need to be talking about.
I think we're going to...
We have up 10 minutes left, so we're going to open up the floor.
Any comments?
Do you
want to say who you are and where you come from?
Hi. I'm Idris, also known as Fruit, from Targa, from the Blanheim Canyog. I am working class, non-binary, all of the things. All of that. First of all, I want to say how amazing all three of you are, and I really love what all you're doing, and it's really nice to have like a conversation about this, because even though I consider myself quite knowledgeable about these sort of topics, I always seem to learn more when I come to talks like these, and that's why they're important.
That's nice.
There's a lot of things I wanted to say, but because we talked about a lot, covers a lot. So I'll try to keep it specific. So a lot of the things that what you're talking about the Welsh language, I found the Welsh language very inaccessible. Like you said, it always seems to be a person from a certain class who is the ones who will be able to learn the language, because, like you said, you're from Mayfair, you have that being out with you. It feels like the Welsh language very anglicised. I think us as people got anglicised as well, with like a lot of people's opinions, and even now that's why we need the modern bilinguals. But how do we make the Welsh language more accessible? And so we can make that change, if that makes sense.
One thing I will do, if they really cared about their Welsh language, I'd have a Welsh language in every area. I don't see why there's no Welsh language or run-off school in Grangetown. That's ridiculous. There's so many. There's one Welsh primary school that gets oversubscribed. The nearest Welsh school that we have will be Glantarf. That means that we're outside of that remit, so we've only got a few kids from down here. It's designed to keep us out. That's the point. So one of my friends is going to be now basically campaigning to get a Welsh school in our area. That's what we do. That's how we change it. That's how we make it accessible. If
That
you
happened
really,
in Newport.
if you
Like,
really
we
care about the
only
language,
just
it would be everywhere, and it would be free, and it would be accessible, and it would be taught by people that look like us.
Yes.
We only just got a Welsh
Yes,
school in Newport.
but that's the
3
point.
years ago.
If they
Welsh
cared,
High School.
if they want it to be, on all levels, that would be one of the easiest ways.
I want to add to that. So I'm a Welsh speaker. I was very lucky. I went to a Welsh school, but my parents don't speak Welsh, so that was very ostracising because mum and dad don't speak Welsh, so there's that. And obviously, South Walian dialect is a lot more frowned upon.
Yes.
In the thing. Eisteddfod, your diction isn't right. Your dialect is that. It's very. All the books are in North Walian. Very different dialects. You're like.
Very true.
It's a year for us to read a book because we're like, this is a completely different language almost. And what I find, especially with like the Eisteddfod, it makes me so angry because even as a Welsh speaker, you can be isolated.
Yes, you can.
So how is and you see everyone is so, I suppose, see the Welsh government are so up their bums about protecting the Welsh language. Come on now, everyone. The numbers are falling because
we know,
they're not including learners.
That's right.
Make things bilingual so it's more accessible.
That's
so
right.
people can get in. I'm very passionate.
I'm very passionate about it. I totally understand what you mean because I worked with Ellen, who was the artistic director from Cerdd. So I knew this whole furore was going to happen 3 years ago. I knew it didn't just happen because black people took the knee and started screaming. Like it's economics is why they're changing it because they know that the age group that usually goes to the Cerdd, they're dying off. They're getting old. They're getting old. So the stage that Sage Todd's was going to be on, had nothing to do with Eisteddfod. It was going to be off the Eisteddfod, so the Eisteddfod would have gone on as normally, and then you'd have this fringe event, which happens after the Eisteddfod. Not a problem. Yeah. It's the way the media hyped it up to such a point where it became this them and us again. Yeah. And then there was this whole very thin line of racism coming through about protecting and having a festival just for us. That kept going on, and I felt really, really uncomfortable. And I was going to turn around, and I did put it out on my media post that this is the first time I've ever felt like I don't want to do a gig because I feel unsafe. I'm 6 foot, I don't care. Do you know what I mean? I can take care of myself. I'm like, I'm a fit person. But it's the first time in my life, and I grew up, like I said, in an area where there's NF. I'd still walk anywhere. I know my surroundings. That was the first time I ever felt I can't do it again in case I'm going to be racially attacked. And everyone around me, like you said, were totally supportive. And I also know that if I don't go, it's letting that win, and I won't allow that. But I understand the whole north and south. When I get taught at my when I'm learning, they give me the South Walian version because most of my friends, Gogs, they're North Walians, and I spend a lot of time in Bangor and doing lots of up there. What I mean is, the Welsh language is designed. It's been kept in a way to keep us out because when I go in, I did a voiceover for a cartoon called Bobby Knox. So I'd go into the BBC. And everyone was from a certain area. Everyone went to a certain school, No one looked like me. No one was in like some bang up car in there. Who's just come from Cardiff somewhere or from the top. Nobody. It was always a certain elitism and a certain middle class, which meant that I felt like I should feel privileged to be here because they're letting me into their group. No, this is my group. I pay my taxes here. I put money into this, and that's another thing you need to remember. When anyone challenges you, why are you saying anything? You earn money here, you pay your taxes, you put money into your friends' pockets. It could be a studio, it could be someone to call. You have every right to voice your opinion, and that is absolutely, do not let anybody take that away from you. Because there are countries out there that will kill for to have what you have, to use it.
Just to say as well, is it Idris? Coming from South Wales, very similar to you. I had exactly the same kind of situation growing up. Was if you were well off, you went to the Welsh school. Mm-hmm. And that was an attitude I grew up with and one that I was really resentful of because I wanted those opportunities. I've always been obsessed with the fact I'm Welsh.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I love it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. Like, so I would reckon, like, in terms of talked about making a big change, like campaigning, you know, calling out injustices. But if there's small things you can do in your own circle,
that's right.
Like, if you've got another friend who's even teetering on the idea of learning Welsh, do it together. One of my best mates, Alex, has come so far with her Welsh and has learned such an amazing amount of Welsh because she's been unapologetic and unafraid to use it. And I think that if you can do that within your own social circle, like, no offence, but I'm going to swear now, fuck the gogs.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? If they're going to question you and they're going to say to you, oh, that's not right, oh, you can't say it like that. Well, yeah, I can. That's my way of saying it. That's my dialect of doing it. And this was stolen from me. There's history to that. There's colonisation within that. You know, like you said, there's an area of we've been kept down and this was taken from a community. So reclaiming that is in your own hands and bringing it.
My great grandparents didn't speak Welsh at home because they didn't want my grandparents not to speak it in school.
Yeah.
And even though the Welsh not got stopped after my grandparents were in school, it's still affected
but then those stories then be filled down, don't they?
It doesn't pass on because then they still keep the same mentality.
Yes.
They've been told if you're speak Welsh or dumb and whatever. Sorry, there's another thing I wanted to carry on with that. Sorry, I want to say
one more, and then we need to just open
it's not a question, it's a statement.
Okay. Go for it.
I'm just saying, it really upset me with the thing with stage starts because coming from a mostly English-speaking area like I am, coming from someone who is very close to the border, where none of my mates really care about speaking Welsh, he made it, even though it was at North Wales, not South Wales, he made it cool for people to listen to Welsh.
He did.
And for my generation, we never saw that.
That's right.
Yeah.
And the way that's the point. Use your Welsh authentically, and that's what he was doing. I'm sorry, to flow from English into a Welsh flow, right, is hard. I think that's something that everyone should be clapping about. Because it's very hard to rap in, if you're doing a certain genre, some of them words in Welsh don't really fit, rhythmically. So to get that in and be able to swap from English, I think that was something that should be applauded and not be absolutely shot down. And also, yes, he did. He also he saw other black artists thinking, yeah, man, I want to do that. Because I don't, like I said, who was rapping before? I think it was you were rapping. I was like, yes, Welsh accent. You know what I mean? They want to say proud, they want to say whatever, but it shouldn't be up to anyone else. It should be your artistic choice to use the language, and that should be respected. Yeah. Yes, I love Welsh, but if it don't fit what I'm trying to say, I'm not going to use it. But I've got a song now, and it can't work without a Welsh language chorus now. Yeah. Even though I sang it in English, now it just sounds rubbish if I sing it in English. It needs it. Because it's done authentically. Now, if they told me, write that song, all in Welsh like that, it would, all of a sudden I'd shut down.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I'd be playing a part.
Like you said, so authentic, you wouldn't speak like that.
You wouldn't speak like that.
Yeah, I think challenging that is the best part. So we have time for one more question. If there's...
Or comments.
Yeah. I just wanted to talk a little bit more about the 16 to 25 kind of age group. Just thinking about as well, the idea of people wanting a career change.
Yes.
So, I know plenty of 40-somethings who would love to get involved in the music industry, particularly on the, rather than as musicians, but whether that's in promoting or whatever. But they just don't know how to get in because they see all these opportunities which are for under 25s. Yeah. And promoting, speaking as a form of promoter is something that's very difficult to get into. Yeah. Particularly from a financial point of view. Yeah. I've had to stop because I cannot afford to do it anymore. The risk of the financial risk of it was just awful. But I think if there's more kind of funding opportunities that are specifically for people that want to get involved in the music industry on whatever age you are, I think that idea of lifelong learning, I think
that is an absolute brilliant point again, like I'm saying, especially for women. Again, a lot of women go into a job because they have to support their family, and then they realise, oh, hold on a minute, this is not exactly what I want to do. I want to do something else. A lot of us have had to just switch off the brain, look after the family, and then realise, oh my God, I am intelligent. I need to do something else because the kids are growing up. Yes, I sit on quite a few different fundraising panels, And it's frustrating that there isn't enough awareness about the funding that's out there, and there isn't enough funding for the people on the infrastructure side. So I'm seeing loads of young promoters, women who are absolutely, they've taken their office skills maybe, and now they can use it in logistical stuff. So they're doing PA work, they're doing, you know, they can plan stuff. You know, my sister has plans, you know, this is the first time I've ever had a 2-year plan in my life, because I'm an artist, you know. Now I'm a business owner, I have to have plans, but now I'm using that part of my brain which I didn't need to use before.